Good evening and welcome to the May 13, 2013 Hillsborough Township Board of Education. Trying to get a take.
What was on the other side? I'm hoping it's attached to see if you catch you on the other side.
Test, check. Check. Getting there. Check. All right. We're good now? Thank you. All right. Welcome to the May 13th, 2013 Hillsborough Township Board of Education meeting. In accordance with the State Sunshine Law of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting of the Hillsborough Township Board of Education was provided on May 9th, 2013 to the Hillsborough Beacon and Courier News. May I have a roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood?
Sure. Ms. Bogoshevsky? Ms. Santabate?
Here.
Mr. Gillette?
Here.
Mrs. Haas? Mrs. Haley?
Here.
Mrs. Legg?
Here.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Here.
Ms. Wasson?
Here.
And Mr. Kent?
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. If we can rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have the correspondence as listed in the agenda, and I'd like to hand it over to Dr. Schiff for the Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Kintz. It's my pleasure to introduce our Spotlight on Students presentation. Our Spotlight on Students is our continuing effort to showcase the wonderful things that students across this district are doing each and every day. Today we're going to hear from the Interact Club, and to introduce our club representatives is the principal of Hillsborough High School, Ms. Spinger.
Good evening, everyone. At this point, I would like to invite the members of Interact up to join me, the representative members, I should say. And if you'll stand on this side, that would be wonderful. Interact is an organization at the high school that is advised by Elizabeth Steinbrook and Tracy Jameson, who unfortunately could not be with us this evening. And the membership actually numbers about 150 students. It's probably one of our largest organizations at the high school. And the purpose of Interact is to develop service and leadership opportunities for Hillsborough High School student body and to find ways to give back to our community. And just to give you a sense of what Interact does, they have actually just reached their 1,500-hour mark of hours of service given to assorted organizations this year. And they're not done yet. They still have a few weeks of school left to go and many things still on the rosters to accomplish. So I want to start out by describing for you just a little bit of what they do, and then I'm going to introduce our representatives this evening. Among the things that Interact has done this year is to work with the Resource Center for Families and Children, where they have done babysitting and clerical services and decorated their Christmas shop. The Ronald McDonald House in New Brunswick, where Interact has prepared dinners for the families and provided games and volunteers for their annual Friends and Family event. The Mr. HHS charity event is a kind of cool flip on how to get other kids to give back to charity, including by running Mr. HHS, they run an annual charity night in order to allow the student body to raise money for charity. The winner, the person who's actually named Mr. HHS, is the one who gets to determine where which charity the donation goes to. They participate with Feed the Children, where they prepare care packages filled with food and supplies. They volunteer at the YMCA, where they work with the after-school program. They work with Little Dresses for Africa, where they make dresses that are sent to Africa for those in need. They work with the Autism Sunrise program. They provide play treatment for a 6-year-old boy with autism, and these are done in 2-hour shifts once a week. They participate with Operation Shoebox, where they package basic items and toiletries to send to troops overseas. They participate in the fall leaf cleanup for the elderly and disabled neighbors in Somerset County by going to their homes and raking their leaves. They work with Gifts of the Season, where they unload holiday gifts, sort, and organize them into family or agency groupings. They participate in roadside cleanup, where they're responsible for cleaning up a section of Amwell Road. They work with the Girl Scouts of America to help them unload the shipment of cookies for the Hillsborough troop. They work with Empower Somerset, where they volunteer at their activities such as Fun Night, the Somerville Fair, and so on. They work with the Special Olympics, where they participate as trainers in the months leading up to the Special Olympics, as well as serve as coaches at the competition itself. And they work with the Rotary organization, where they volunteer at the fair each July, as well as provide help as requested on other Rotary events and projects. And as Ms. Steinbrook explained to me so perfectly, and they do so much more because Interact students truly are the change they want to see in the world, to paraphrase. Representing this evening are two of our students, and as I said, this is a group that numbers over 150, so piling them all in here was a little challenging for the evening, but our representatives for the evening are Amanda Fainer and Jasmine Brown, and we appreciate everything that they do, as well as, I think, what this really says about Hillsborough High School students and their willingness, and the large number of students and their willingness to give back to the community and to do some really outstanding things for people just out of the kindness of their hearts, and that's pretty awesome in my book. So thank you for everything you do.
Thank you once again. Great people doing great deeds. We really do appreciate it. Outstanding work. Next on our docket is our Spotlight on Curriculum, where each of our curriculum supervisors has an opportunity to discuss the things that they're doing, as well as keep us abreast of best practices and what's happening in their fields. Tonight we have Chris Petrozelli, our supervisor of special education from 7 through 12, here tonight to discuss with us special education students and 21st century life and careers. Mrs. Petrozelli.
Thank you. Good evening. This is the week that we celebrate special education in the state of New Jersey, and I have the privilege of talking about something near and dear to my heart, which is transition. Preparing students for the 21st century life and careers. On May 7th, 2013, we took 16 9th and 10th grade special education students from Hillsborough High School to participate in the New Jersey Office of Career and Technical Education and Office of Special Education Programs. It was their first 21st Century Life and Careers Conference at Middlesex County College. This program highlighted the importance of college and career readiness for high school students. Also attending this conference were members of our child study team, our career guidance counselor, and 2 classroom teachers. Planning for your future. Planning for post-secondary education or the workforce requires students to take a closer look at their skill sets and be able to communicate their needs and speak on their own behalf. Self-discovery and self-advocacy skills are routinely addressed in the high school study skills classes, and this workshop gave students opportunities to meet and dialogue with their peers from schools throughout the state of New Jersey. Making important choices. Students participated in a series of breakout sessions in an attempt to learn about the range of possibilities that are available to them through the college experience or workforce training. The sessions that our students attended were planning for future goals, career awareness, personal financial literacy, self-awareness, and self-advocacy. These are all topics that we spend a great deal of time with in our study skills curriculum, grades 9 through 12. Next, the journey to success. Another focus of the workshop centered on having students better understand how their personalities, interests, skills, and values would ultimately influence their career preferences and choices. Students were given an overview of student-centered planning, questionnaires, learning style inventories, and a career interest survey and interview tips. These workshops that they went to were very, very well received by our students, our freshmen and sophomore students. Next, the career awareness and planning. Students will have the opportunity to work with their study skills teachers, their child study team case managers, and their guidance career counselor to integrate components of Naviance, Project Discovery, and New Jersey Career Assistance Navigator, and resources from the State Department of Education to become successful adults making lifelong decisions. The next New Jersey CAN. This is a program, New Jersey Career Assistance Navigator. It's a New Jersey Department of Ed and Labor and Workforce Development. This is a free online career and college awareness tool and portfolio system for the delivery of accurate, comprehensive, current, and relevant occupational, post-secondary, and financial aid information. This system allows students to assess their skills and interests, search for colleges and careers, set academic and personal goals, and it tracks their progress. It has the latest national, New Jersey, and local labor market data and projections. We will be using this with our sophomore students next year, and it will follow them through their senior year. And there are many opportunities for our students to access really good information through this. And now the feedback. Well, besides hearing that the lunch was really fantastic, the kids really enjoyed the lunch and the breakfast and the snacks that they were provided with. The students enjoyed hearing older college students recall their high school experiences and transition to college. There were many similar experiences that the kids really related to. The speakers, both student and adults, were inspirational. Most students were able to make the connection between their study skills classes and the importance of learning how to become an advocate for themselves. Several students discussed that having a learning difference or any type of disability should not stand in the way of reaching their goal. And as I promised the kids, we will be participating again next year. Any questions? No. Any questions? It was great. Okay.
Are there any questions from the board? Ms. Petrozelli, thank you so much. You did a wonderful job, and we appreciate all the work that you and your wonderful team do. I'd like to shift to some more information from the Superintendents Report. Since our last board meeting, unfortunately, we had the passing of two of our teachers. Barbara Doyle taught Hillsborough Middle School from September 2001 through April of 2013. Ms. Doyle was a literacy teacher at the middle school, but was best known throughout the community for her work in the theater. She was a creative force behind the school's drama and musical theater productions. It was through these productions that she helped introduce and foster the growth of so many Hillsborough students' love of theater. Rosemarie Scavron, second grade teacher at Sunnymead. She began her career in 1987 at Woods Road School and then joined the staff of Sunnymead the following year. Early in her career, she was the coach of the Hillsborough High School girls varsity tennis team. Mrs. Scavron mentored new teachers and enjoys sharing her love of her chosen profession. Barbara and Rosemarie will be greatly missed. Our deepest condolences go out to the Doyles and the Scavrons during this time of mourning. I do have some good news that I would like to share with the board as well. I would like to share with all of you and the public that our 10th grader, Tricia Data, is ranked 147th in the nation on the 2013 American Chemical Society Chemistry Olympiad examination. This is out of thousands of students that participate in this examination, and absolutely wonderful, wonderful recognition for her as well as for our high school, in particular our chemistry department. Let's give Tricia a round of applause. Next, I'd like to share that a number of Hillsborough's musicians performed with the Greater Princeton Youth Orchestra at Carnegie Hall in New York City Sunday. These fine musicians included high school students Ariane Bisnar, who plays the violin, Matt Blofeld, trombone, Christian DeFries, horn, Derek Elwood, percussion, and Rin Murray, cello, as well as high school, middle school student Jack Kinst, who played the oboe. Congratulations to this fine and exciting accomplishment. Let's give them a round of applause. Also, Mr. Kinst and I had the joy of attending the annual State Gala, which is a recognition program hosted by Rutgers University for all of the finest wind ensembles throughout the state. Hundreds of high school wind ensembles send in audition tapes to Rutgers University, and Hillsborough High School Wind Ensemble was one of 2 high schools in central New Jersey that was invited to participate in this concert. 6 total throughout the state. Hillsborough was one of those. Led by Jules Herron, this ensemble did an absolutely fantastic job. I thought it was a fun night, and Mr. Kinst brought 3 of his 4 children, and they all loved it. Absolutely.
And,
Let's give our wind ensemble a big round of applause. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for the superintendent's report. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes. First off is I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the April 22nd, 2013 executive session minutes. Okay. Any discussion? There were, in the second session, there was some clarifying comments that I wanted to have with regard to how it was communicated, and we can send that around. It's just to clarify a couple points, and it's hard to specify when it was a closed session. So I will send that to folks. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions?
Abstain.
Jen? Okay, and now I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the April 22nd, 2013 regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the motion passes. New business. First, we'll open it up to the floor. If there's anybody from the public who would like to bring new business to the board, please do so. Please state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Sue DeCenzo, 131 South Triangle Road. If I'm speaking in the wrong area, new business or old business, feel free to let me know. Tonight I'm coming to you to speak as a parent about cupcakes, dinosaurs, and Italian. I have always felt blessed to have gone to Hillsborough Township schools as a child, to have taught here for 22 years, and to now have my own children come here. However, sometimes it is a mixed blessing to be both an educator and a parent in the same district, as I have an inside view to some of the events that are occurring and impacting my children, both the ones I gave birth to and the ones that walk through my classroom door each day. It is with that inside view that I stand before you tonight to ask for some clarification about a few issues that touch upon cupcakes, dinosaurs, and Italian. Also, I want you to know that I speak tonight for many teachers and parents that have given me their support on these issues. So let's start with the fun stuff. First of all, let's talk about cupcakes. Okay, now you might look at me and say, well, Sue DeCenzo enjoys her cupcakes, and I do. I'm all for the cupcakes, but I'm all for the kids. Recently, I have read both the board policy and the state policy on food items in school. Recently, as a staff member, we received an email from the nursing supervisor via our building principals reminding teachers about the district policy on food items during the school day. As a result of this email, teachers across the district were asked to contact parents and tell them that cupcakes, ice cream, candy, pasta, I could go on, cannot be served during the school day. Although we have always been asked to encourage parents to send in healthier items or to provide healthier choices, we have never really been given a statement that says we cannot have these items in school. And I have to tell you, many parents are very upset when they got a notice from their teacher saying, we can't have ice pops, we can't have cupcakes, we can't have this at our class parties. I know at Woods Road School, they do a speech party with ice cream and sprinkles and M&Ms, and in this email, they were told we can no longer do that. So before I came here tonight, I wanted to clarify for myself what the board policy was and what the state policy is. The board policy says exactly what the state policy says, that, excuse me 1 minute, foods and beverages served during special school celebrations or during curriculum-related activities shall be exempt from the policy, with the exceptions of foods of minimal nutritional value as defined. And I have that list of minimal nutritional value foods, and I think we can certainly all live without these foods. But however, ice pops, it says water ices which contain fruit or fruit juices are not included. If you look at the email, and I can share it with, Dr. Schiff or anyone who wants to see it, the nursing supervisor has said, and I have that amongst my papers, all forms of candy. That is not what the state policy says, nor is it what the food and nutritional value says. The nurse also says all food and beverage items listing sugar in any form as the first ingredient. That is not what the exceptional minimal nutritional value. That's actually, I think, referring to a school lunch program. I have all of that here, and I would really like the board to clarify and to re-examine, because I don't know if you've ever seen the face of a 7-year-old coming in with cupcakes for their birthday. I don't want the teachers that are now manning the doors for parents coming in to have to say, what's the nutritional, is that no more than 2 grams of saturated fat per serving? It's years ago in Hillsborough, we banned Halloween. We banned a Halloween parade. I think we're going to the extreme, and I would just like some clarification on this, and I have the information. Feel free to talk about it, and just give us some clarification on that, because parents are definitely upset. If you've been in the school for Flag Day, when it's 100 degrees out, we have a red, white, and blue bomb pop. It's fun stuff. It's what kids are about. It's fun, and I just don't understand why we're getting this directive. So that's the first thing I want to address to the board.
We'd be happy to address some of those concerns that you brought up. Dr. Antunes, would you like to share?
We can talk about this all night. I have spent hours and hours and hours and hours with parents with food allergies, without food allergies, with life-threatening food allergies, with board members, with the education committee, with the nurses, with the principals. And it is also on our leadership team agenda again for tomorrow. However, we did bring this to the education committee of the board to look at the policy, not just this policy, but the policy for life-threatening food allergies. The directive was enforce the policy. We are now enforcing that policy. You're not wrong in what you say, in that in the past, perhaps things have been let go for whatever reason, whatever the reason was. But we were told to enforce the policy.
I
So we're moving
appreciate that,
forward with
Dr.
enforcing that
Antunes,
policy.
but the policy, if you read the state policy, and even the board policy says there's exceptions to the rule. And the
Except
state,
for foods
this-
with minimal nutritional value. I understand, I'm looking at that myself.
Okay, and the state policy said what is considered to be a special school celebration or curriculum-related activity. And it says an example of a school celebration would be a classroom party for a student's birthday celebration or for a special holiday. An example of a curriculum-related activity would be a lesson on foods from other cultures, where food items related to a particular culture may be prepared or tasted by class. So I'm glad you guys are further discussing
Minimal
this.
nutritional value. We have a lot of foods coming into the schools with minimal nutritional value. Perhaps not your school, but schools. Additionally, we take this policy along with the policy for managing life-threatening food allergies in our district, and we put them together, and we should become a BYOS school. Bring your own snack for special occasions, because putting the two together, something could be very healthy. Fruit, apples, banana. People are allergic, life-threatening, allergic, EpiPen allergic to apples. So we have putting those two together ties our hands severely. So we're doing the message that's gone out from leadership team anyway has been that let's celebrate the students and the great accomplishments that they have put forth, as opposed to celebrating the food that goes along with that. Nobody wants to be the cupcake police. I certainly don't want to be the cupcake police.
And again, I understand that, but I'm not going to continue to take it up here, but I would be happy to show you what the state says, what our plan says, and I just think it's a sad day in Hillsborough, and it reminds me many years ago when we banned Halloween, and I personally dressed up as John Deere because we had to be historical figures or something of educational value to celebrate Halloween. And I just think we go to the extreme in some of these things, and I didn't bring a lot of parents tonight, but I would be happily to engage, the board at discussing this. I understand it's being enforced, but what it says here in the board policy is that there are exceptions. So
I appreciate that. What our direction was from the board is to enforce the policy, not to interpret it liberally or conservatively, just to enforce the language within the policy. If there is an extension beyond that, we will reconsider that.
okay.
Thank you.
All right, the second thing I would like to address is dinosaurs. When my two boys were in second grade, they were able to visit a place called Porosey Park to dig for dinosaur fossils. They enjoyed this trip so much that they asked my husband and I to take them back in the summer. This year, I was disappointed that the second grade trip to Porosey Park was denied because the second graders studied dinosaurs in November, and the class trip would have been when the weather was warmer in May. This and many other trips have been denied because the learning unit does not coincide with the scheduled time of the trip. This saddens me, as we all know that learning does not happen only in written time periods, but that we are constantly adding to our schema and knowledge base. Learners connect new knowledge with what they have already acquired, so the trip to dig fossils in May would have only enriched the knowledge base. This is not the only trip I have heard of that has been denied because the time of study is not equal to when the trip would be taken. These are just a few of the examples, and I would like to know why these trips are being denied, and I would like the board to re-examine the process for approving trips. Learning is a continuous process, and I would hope that the board would like to see doors being open to our children rather than being closed.
So, yes, I can count on one hand the number of times I've not approved a field trip, first of all. So if there are others, please let me know. We hear all the time, teachers don't want to be out of the classroom. In fact, you guys come to us and tell us this. With the Common Core, with the workload issues, with the aligning all the work that the students are doing to the Common Core and the New Jersey core curriculum content standards, we are asking for further information. If a teacher puts down a standard that is an outdated or a standard that doesn't exist, I will return it for clarification. I have emails going back and forth. I very rarely will disapprove a trip. I often ask for further clarification. If a teacher's going to put a CPI down or a standard down, then the question is, what will you do with that? Sometimes a standard is placed on the field trip request, but there's nothing said about it. Or what's said about it, there's a standard that's not spoken to. So I'm often asking for further clarification, which I get. I get from the teachers. And it goes back and forth. Sometimes it's one or two times. Sometimes it's more than that. Often, not often, I'd say about 5 times this year, teachers have gotten me on the front side and asked me questions about is this trip okay? The most important thing for a class trip is that it be board approved destination. If the destination is board approved, then it's up to the teacher or teachers to provide me with how the trip will be beneficial to the students in their classrooms. Sometimes it's a group of teachers, sometimes it's one teacher. There are trips that are denied for certain populations that are not denied for others. It depends upon how the teacher writes it up, what the teacher says, and I will always reach out to the principal, typically the principal, if I'm even thinking about denying a trip. I reach out to the principal first. I will never deny a trip without reaching out to the principal, getting his or her take on it. Often, My secretary, Denise, is the one who will ask the teachers for further clarification or information. I get especially concerned when teachers are sending in paperwork with old standards on them. I get it, because everybody's so overwhelmed. Well, it was approved last year, how come it's not approved this year? But we point that out. The standard doesn't exist, could you please update with the new standards? It's very difficult for me, if any board member asked, or parent, for me to justify a trip with something that's incorrect. So that's the reason why we do those things.
And I appreciate that, Dr. Antunes. I don't know what trips you denied, but I have heard some things from staff members about a trip to Liberty Science Center being denied because it wasn't when they were studying electricity. My son is in Reach. I've heard of a trip that was being denied to Philadelphia because it's not when they were studying the Constitution. So these are
need
things
additional
that
information on
but
those
these are
to
things my
send on.
colleagues are talking about. And I can also tell you that when the fourth graders come over to Arish to visit to get acclimated, that was returned and asked to put standards on it. We're talking about getting used to a new school. So I can tell you as a staff member, and I'd be happy to take an informal poll of trips that are being denied. And I can also tell you as an educator and as a student, a former student of this district, and my parents are farmers, I could take a kid out, I could take a group of kids out to a pumpkin field, and I, as a good educator, I could do a reading lesson, a writing lesson, an art lesson, a language lesson. So I think it's upsetting that the trip to Porsey Park and other trips are being denied based on what's of value when those are good trips. I mean, why was Porsey Park denied? I mean, do you remember?
No.
No,
I don't
okay.
recall.
Okay, well, maybe we can engage in that conversation later, but I do think there are good trips, and I'm telling you, my colleagues are telling me that they're being denied, and it's sad because learning is on a continuum, and we're always adding to our knowledge base, so I would like that to be examined as well. Finally, I get to Italian. I'm concerned about the changes in language that have taken place for our upcoming 5th and 6th graders. When I went to Hillsborough schools, we were exposed to all the languages, and then we were asked to commit to one. I enjoyed learning the differences in the languages and about the culture behind the languages. My older son, who is in 6th grade, never cared for Spanish, but loves Italian and German, and is excited to choose a language for 7th grade. And I have to say, he's coming with more commitment because now he's experienced it. My younger son, who is going into 5th grade, is very sad that he will not get a chance to sample the languages and then have to make a commitment to one. In fact, when I asked him what language he would take, he said, I don't know. I've only had Chinese and Spanish. So he's going to go with one that he knows. I'm worried that Italian, German, and French will go by the wayside as students are forced to commit to a language before experiencing the options. I wish that there would have been a committee in which parents could have served on before this change was made in the program. I also understand that with this change in program, some students may not be able to take an honors class in high school. I see this change as a door closing and not a door opening. I would like to ask the board to re-examine this change and to perhaps ask for parental input. I am sure that you would find that most parents would want their child to have a chance to experience the various languages before having to commit to one. Finally, I am concerned that in an effort to get more done, we are closing doors rather than opening them. I am concerned that we are forgetting what it means to be a child. And tonight, I am still going to ask you to bring back cupcakes, dinosaurs, and Italian. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. DeSenza. Any other new business from the public? Okay, any new business from the board? Mrs. Lay.
It was Teacher Appreciation Week last week, and I'd like to acknowledge that the teachers have been doing their best to adapt to the new curriculum updates, to the national core standards, and the changes to the new technology, including smart boards, the new online grading system, the laptops, and the lesson planning software, in addition to the looming state-mandated teacher evaluation system. Even though teachers have taken these changes in stride, I think we can all agree that there have been a lot of adjustments in the past 2 years, leading teachers to express their concerns. it's been very helpful that board members have received the input regarding how teachers have been affected by the recent changes. I had suggested that one of the letters received by the Education Committee be sent to the entire board because it provided insightful recommendations on how to streamline some of the inefficiencies. And I hope that is taken into consideration and then placed on the list of correspondences that we received as a full board.
You should feel free to forward any information that, or any letters that you get to the full board.
No. It was sent to the committee, including you, and then I asked that it be forwarded to the full board, and I think it was agreed but not done.
Okay.
So, yeah. And so I'd like to
Just to clarify, who was that from? Because I want to make sure, because most correspondences that come to the board comes to the full board.
Yeah, I think what happened was the email that we received said that it was addressed to the Education Committee.
It was sent to Kate, who was asked to forward it to the Education.
Okay.
So it didn't come to us directly from the teacher, and it was the teacher of the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just saying, as chairperson of the Education Committee, you should feel free to you're within your power to forward that to the entire board. So, I mean,
I was being respectful.
I understand.
And seeing that it went through the proper channels.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And so I would like to take time to think about what all of us can do to alleviate the stresses that teachers currently experience. So the administration can consider some of the suggestions that teachers have been listing in their letters. There's been quite a few number of letters. And after listening to Mrs. Parker at the Education Committee meeting, I'm wondering to what extent we can improve professional learning circles so that they better meet the needs of the teachers. This is also where us, board members, could be useful to the school district by asking what direction we want to take as a district. And parents can remember that teachers have to carve out time to respond to their emails. This was listed in some of the letters. And it competes with time to evaluate students and help them understand material that they didn't get during regular class time. While it is now easier to communicate with teachers, we need to be considerate about how often we email them. And students can help their teachers by respecting authority and each other. Mr. Rocco used to summarize the harassment, intimidation, and bullying reports to us each month, and it was appalling how much students thought they could get away with. And it seems to get worse with each passing year, and it's one of the reasons why the teachers are demoralized. And then lastly, board members can question whether the pace of change may be a problem. So if the districts who have been piloting the teacher evaluations last year, they're not meeting any of the timelines that they had been given, I think it was by the state. And if they don't meet it, then what is the reason for us to move so quickly? Like, for example, in a previous board meeting, we said that there was a lot of rush to put in the national core curriculum standards to update to that, and that some school districts did not meet those timelines. But I don't know if they were punished by it, or if, I just want us to start thinking what is driving the rush, and if there is any value for us to take a different pace. Because that's something that I heard when Mrs. Parker came in some of the letters, that there may be something that we could do in terms of pacing. And so I wanted to also, I know that the teacher evaluations are scheduled to change before the administrative evaluations, but if the administrative evaluations, if part of their evaluation was how are you going to administer or have the teacher evaluation process rolled out? Maybe that is a more natural progression for things. And I would like to know if our school district can push back on the state-imposed timelines and priorities.
I can speak to that a little bit. You're exactly right. There is this rush to implementation that is being generated from Trenton, from our DOE at the state level. You are also correct that the pilot process, which is now in its second year, has failed to complete a full cycle that includes indicators of student performance as it relates to teacher performance. So during the first year, all that was evaluated in the pilots was teacher behaviors in the classroom as a result of direct observation, not indicators of student progress. So now, as part of the second year of the piloting, they're beginning to get the lessons learned of how that is working. This is a concern throughout the entire state of New Jersey. I and others have been quite vocal and have spoken out at different meetings. I was part of a panel just a few weeks ago at the Garden State Coalition of Schools, hosted at Rutgers University, where I shared my concern about the pacing of this, the rush in particular to use certain metrics that have some questionable efficacy. And there was a rather large report that came out of Rutgers. Dr. Baker authored it, expressing concern about certain methodologies. So there is, your concern is shared by many. Now the question is, well, what do we do about that? Currently, the regulations of the new state evaluation, the teacher evaluation model from the state, are being reviewed in Trenton. Organizations such as New Jersey School Boards, the New Jersey Educators Association, the New Jersey School Administrators Association, Garden State Coalition of Schools, many organizations are putting out their recommendations. Some of whom are saying, slow the process down. Let's try to get this right, not get it fast. And at this point, it's not gaining a lot of traction, unfortunately. There has been a minor change of taking 5% less on one statistic called the student growth profile, and adding 5% more to the teacher evaluation portion, the teacher observation portion. But other than that, there's been very little change that the Department of Education is recommending to change in front of the state school board. So within the next 60 days is the final discussion period before the state board approves the new regulations. At that point, it's baked in. The law is very clear. The law says that by September 1, 2013, all districts in the state of New Jersey must, not should, must implement a new teacher evaluation model and administrator evaluation model. There is no equivocating on that. So I don't anticipate that the date is going to change for that. How it is implemented year one, how it rolls out, is up to the decision makers down in Trenton at this point. We've attempted to make influence. New Jersey School Boards has certain positions on this as well, and a delegate assembly is coming up. I don't even know if there's something on there about the new teacher evaluation model. But the concern, I don't want to say is universal, but it is widely felt among board members and superintendents and teachers and others.
I thought the administrative evaluation was 1 year behind.
It is not. It used to be, but then the law was written differently. Now it is the same time. They are concurrent.
So does the administration evaluation include something about how the teacher evaluation process is implemented?
You are correct. It does.
All right.
So a very logical question is, how appropriate is that when those administrators haven't gone through the process yet?
And I just wanted to bring, because the teacher who came up and spoke, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. So, yes. Well, she she said something that was summed up in this other letter. She said the reason why she was writing the letter is that she would like the educational system to be the same dynamic system that my own children experienced. And I went to Porosy Park with my daughter. So I think that sometimes there is that magic that Hillsborough education brings. We have a lot of people who stay in our town who have these memories, and I'm sure there is some kind of link to the curriculum. We just have to find it and add it to the trip. But I think it's something that we need to really consider. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. With regard to the pace of things, I mean, where we have influences on the strategic plan, and we've put a lot of time into that. So, and we've had conversations about how quickly, for example, technology gets rolled out, and it's in a pilot stage, and it's been a pretty methodical. It's not a 10% and then going to 100%. It's 10, 20, 40. So there's a pace of change that's happened with that. The smart boards was implemented 3 years ago. You know, and then the laptops was about 2 years ago, and then the actual one-on-one technology, which is part of the strategic plan, has a very diligent cascade in terms of how it gets implemented. So, and as has been expressed both within the Education Committee and at the dais here and privately, Dr. Schiff is very aware of the pressures that are going on in the district with regard to the staff and all the changes that are going on. So he's very sensitized to that and wants to make sure that he can pull whatever relief valves to help out with that. The other aspects are specific implementation of policy, which is a different issue. That's more the purview of the administrators as opposed to the exact policy. With regard to the nutrition, the policy is the policy, and then it's up to the administration to implement that. And if it's not being implemented appropriately, that's where we can provide feedback. And Dr. Schiff has heard that. Greg, you wanted to say something?
Oh, I was under new business. Are you still doing old new business? Go ahead.
No, this is still new business. Yeah,
Continue.
I'm trying to talk to the.
I thought you were winding down, so I
No,
was getting
no.
ready. On another topic, so another.
Oh, okay.
Not another topic. I just
Okay.
wanted to comment on Mrs. Lay's discussion topic. As the daughter of a teacher, I can tell you that as early as yesterday on Mother's Day, I had the same conversation with my own mother in her own district. So I can appreciate that it's throughout the state that everyone's feeling that kind of pressure because I have it close to home myself. And with regard to implementation of the policy with regards to food, I'm assuming that a lot of this is stemming from food allergy and food allergies, life-threatening food allergies that we have in some of the schools with some of the students, only because I'm familiar with some of them. Everything has changed as we know it, from when I was in school, from when you were in school, and it's really difficult, and I feel for you because it's hard to explain to kids that what you had and, you know, what another person has, you know, might not be valid anymore, unfortunately, even those little things. So, but I just wanted to say that I can appreciate what you were saying about the teachers because I'm, you know, living it very close to home myself, so I get it.
Yeah.
I do realize that Dr. Schiff is alleviating the pressures for the teachers, but, you know, I really value, when I think back on board time, I really value these kind of discussions where we're talking about what do we do as board members, and what do we do when we receive these letters. Like, some of these make a lot of sense to me. Like, if students and parents see their grades on an ongoing basis, then why do we need interim reports? And I don't think that board members need to get into the day-to-day operations of a school district. But when these are brought up, then how maybe it's helpful for board members to see, okay, that's how we addressed it. This is how we're going to make it more efficient. Or if we have a lot of laptops, then why are we still printing a lot of things for someone else to review? And just things like that. Again, it's not that we are interested in day-to-day, but when we hear about these things and we're trying to see where could we get efficiencies and use the technology to make it easier for the teachers. That's all I wanted to bring up.
Thank you. Mr. Gillette?
New, different topic?
New business.
All right, thank you. Well, my new business concerns an email that I received today. So first I wanted to start by reminding the public that I guess we have like a de facto deadline, if you will, for correspondence with the board for it to be acknowledged at our Monday board meeting. If your email or correspondence source is not received by, let's say, Thursday, I don't know if that sounds right, Jerry, Thursday. If you don't have it by Thursday, it's probably not going to be on Monday's agenda officially acknowledged. So that's why sometimes you see correspondence acknowledging agenda that's, weeks old. It just sort of didn't make the cut last time, made it this time. So having said that, I was under the impression that our board meetings are still televised on television. I believe they should be. Okay, so we had an email today about the board meetings. I actually wrote something down, so I'd be brief for Dana, who doesn't like me to go on too long. It was recently brought to my attention by a member of the public that the school board meetings that are scheduled to air on television on Sunday evenings have not been shown recently. This is especially vexing for me as I brought the issue of unreliability of our broadcast to the attention of other board members and the school administration on a number of occasions over the years. School board members do not issue press releases or hold news conferences or send newsletters, and I can add in here, we don't have our school board member Facebook pages or tweet either. The way I communicate with my constituents is through the broadcast of the board meetings. The last time I brought this topic up, I was told by administration that there was no one person responsible for monitoring the broadcast to see that they are actually broadcast. To me, at that time, this was an unacceptable answer, and it remains so today. I believe this is an operational aspect of our district that should be assigned to an individual and placed as one of his or her permanent job functions, the monitoring of the broadcast to see that it has actually been broadcast. And also, it's also unacceptable to me for administration to suggest that the board meetings be viewed exclusively over the internet. We employ a professional videographer at a not inconsiderable cost, I hope you're zooming in, Kaz, on this, to record our meetings to television broadcast standards. If this is no longer a requirement, then I suggest that any teenager with an iPhone would be sufficient. That's it.
Thank you. I made some phone calls about the concern that you brought to our attention, as well as the member of the community. What we may want to do as part of the next education agenda, Greg, is actually put it on to discuss it, because my understanding from Joel is that the technology that we use in order to present it is antiquated. It's over 10 to 15 years old, and we need to have a methodology that will alert a staff member that it is not running, rather than have a staff member that's responsible for actually viewing that content to ensure that it's up. The procedure is that the day after the board meeting, it gets posted. We currently don't have someone that's watching it, to ensure that it's always on and always running. But I'm not sure we need to. I think we could probably find a technology that will be able to do that for us. It's something that we should talk about. We should bring it to the operations committee, because this is a real frustration if members of the community depend upon that as their means of understanding board business. And if it's not reliable, if it's not there, some of our community members don't have access to the internet. Some of our community members don't have Comcast. They have DirecTV. So we have to kind of weigh and balance this if it's worth that type of investment. But the bottom line is that if we say it's up, it needs to be up consistently.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Good response.
Any other new business? Okay, I have new business as the representative for our district for the New Jersey School Boards Association. The delegate meeting is occurring May 18th, which is Saturday. I just received the packet today. There are 4 resolutions. I think I'm going to defer it to the committees so I can forward the information to everybody so they can take a look at it and I can get responses from everybody as to where they stand. At this point, since I don't have direction, I'm probably going to abstain. But the 4 resolutions range everything from supporting gun control, to support legislation for that. One is regarding chief school administrator compensation. And that would be to leave it to the local area as opposed to having the state mandate or the state cap. Another resolution is with regard to a lot of whereases. Let's get to the actual meat. One that has to do with changing the school election by a municipal governing body, some additional effects on there in terms of setting public notice. And then the last one is with regard to, has to do with the, looks like it's about nepotism. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Whoa, way off. No, it's about homeschooling and the definition of instructional equivalency and putting some additional standards requirements for homeschoolers. So since the board members, including myself, don't have the appropriate information, I don't think it's appropriate to vote on that today. I'll have to send it out to everybody and get your feedback and direction during the committee meetings, which I'll be participating in each and every one of them this week. So.
Yeah, it's 7 a.m.
So.
We can tackle that at 8:30.
Yeah. So any other new business from the board? And also I'll open it back up to the public. Okay, committee reports. We haven't had any since the last board meeting. They will be occurring this week, so we will have committee reports next week. And now I'd like to open up the floor to the public for comments regarding the action agenda. Okay, seeing none, let's move to the action agenda. Dr. Schiff.
Thank you, Mr. Kins. I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions under the area of education: to approve professional travel-related expenses, overnight field trips, the HIB investigation list, family science sessions, approve Teachers for World Language Parents Student Information Night, submit a State Farm Youth Advisory grant for a total of over $25,000, approve the Memorandum of Understanding between Rider University Science Education and Literacy Center and the Hillsborough Township Board of Ed, and approve out-of-district placement.
So I'd like to entertain a motion for items A1 through A8 of the action agenda.
So moved.
Oh, you stepped on her.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, really. But can I discuss first?
No, you have to-
You have to.
We make the motion first, and then we discuss.
So go
We can
ahead, she
separate
make
out.
the motion.
Sorry about that.
All right,
Okay.
second.
Okay.
I'm really sorry.
Okay, any discussion for items A1 through A8?
Yeah,
Mrs. Lay.
You know, when I recommend to the full board, it's because I've done my homework, and then there's some parts that I don't have enough understanding on in order to make that recommendation. So so I'll start with the good things. For A6, this is a great grant where last year we had Borough Safe, and they had a great program, and they want to continue this kind of work. For this year's grant, they want to have a stronger partnership between SOS, which is Sources of Strength, which is the peer student program, and Borough Safe. So that's information for A6. And when I was going through the information, we didn't have anything under A7. So if you want to speak about that. And for A8, we also didn't get an attachment.
A7 is the motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between Rider University, that one? Okay, and what that is, it's a relationship we have with Rider University. They often do a lot of professional development with mostly our science teachers and math teachers, and we actually do an MOU every year. This one actually is new because it talks about the next generation science standards. And 2 administrators and teachers from each grade level the teachers can volunteer to attend all throughout next year. And it's essentially to go through the current curriculum and figure out where we have gaps based upon the next generation science standards that haven't been approved yet by the State Board of Education. So we're going in that direction. The state is going in that direction with the next generation science standards, and they're looking for teacher administrative input. But it's an understanding with Rider because they have a grant to do this. It doesn't cost the district money except for substitutes for when this occurs throughout the school year. In fact, over the summer, Kim Feltry and myself are attending 2 days to kick this off without any teachers, just us, because teachers don't have to come at that point. So it's informing the board that this is what's happening and an agreement that we're in this together.
And, yeah, thank you. And A8? Because, I try to be prepared, and I go through the Education Committee agenda to see if maybe the attachment is in there, and it isn't, so.
This is an approval of an out-of-district placement for a special education student based upon their individual educational needs and plans, as we have done in the past.
We don't usually get anything for that.
No, we haven't. This is recommended by the child study team based upon the individual needs of the student in consultation with the student's parent.
Okay. So I'm sick, so I have medicine. I thought maybe my mind isn't working straight, but I just wanted to be sure that we had things covered. Yep. And so lastly, because A6, let me make sure I make these connections right. No, sorry, A3. Now that is the 4 pages of the list of students. And just so that we understand as a board, that's linked to Resolution B2, which is under Human Resources for the attachment B21. And I started to think that I respect the district for the decisions they make for aides. The contrast of the grant, A6, where we're spending about $25,000 to reach so many students on suicide prevention, which is linked to bullying, and all of that. And then the amount we're spending on one student, and I went to the form where it was under Human Resources, like a special attachment for us to understand what was going on. There's one sentence on this, and it says that this requires an aid. But I don't, for me, I'm wondering if there's more or something else we could do for this student rather than just a one-to-one aid for what happened, what transgressed. And if money was better spent in our district to prevent this kind of behavior with that amount of money. So that was the question. Am I making it clear?
Certainly. Anytime there's something that comes on the agenda that any board member has a question about and would like some further conversation, we'd be more than happy to spend the time and discuss some of those details. Due to the fact that this is related to a particular student, we don't discuss that in detail in public, but I would be, I'd be happy to touch base with you on it, at any time in order to make you feel more comfortable about the process and the decision-making.
Well, it wasn't really the particular student. It's about how we see holistically the issues and how we address it as a district, not really a particular student.
I understand. We could have certainly a broader discussion about that as well.
Ms. Hassan.
I just wanted to point out with respect to A3 that on page 3 of that, it refers to 2 offenders, but only 1 is listed in the chart on the left. So before we approve it, I would just note that that needs to be corrected.
We'll correct it as part of the package.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comments with regard to items A1 through A8? Okay, roll call please, Mr. Mahmood.
Ms. Boguszewski?
Yes.
Ms. Santafante?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mrs. Legg?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson?
Yes.
Mr. Kim?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion passes.
Thank you. I ask for the board's consideration of my recommendations under the area of human resources to approve the policies for second reading as listed. Also approve the resolutions as listed. We have a retirement of Stephen Grabowski, physics teacher at Hillsborough High School, who has worked with us since September of 1993 through the end of this school year, and we thank him for his service. There's a listing of resignations, revised leaves of absence, long-term substitutes, revised 2012 secretarial summer work, approve additional leaves of absences, transfers, and change of assignments, and the appointments of long-term substitutes, instructional assistants, substitutes, mentors, and the approval and renewal of first, second, and third year non-tenured certificated staff, approve renewal of non-tenured HSPA administrators for the following year, approve renewal of instructional assistants for the following year, approval of the renewal of unaffiliated administrators, and approve the appointments of a speech and language specialist, guidance counselor, coach, approve the technology job description, and approve a suspension.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve items B1 through B19 of the action agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Dr. Hassan.
I just have a question on B6. It says that we're approving revised 2012 secretarial summer hours. Why are we doing that so late if it's referring to last year's hours?
Sorry, was it B8?
B6.
Is it supposed to be
Okay, so let
2013?
me just look at the attachment, hold on.
Because it says the date of 2013, but also on the top of it says 2012 on the attachment too.
I guess if I look at, let me just see the attachment.
The updated list was 2013.
Somebody didn't do enough find and replaces.
There's only one to find and replace, so if they didn't.
I'm just trying to find the attachment.
If we can't describe it, we'll pull it, we'll put it on for next week with the
I just have
correction.
to, let me at least look for it.
Sure.
3, 4. Those are for, no, these are for this coming summer, not last summer. And I know that because the curriculum secretaries worked
No,
last
we're-
summer and they're not working this summer.
actually,
I'm sorry?
Okay, we're going to pull it, and we're going to make any corrections that are necessary, and then we have a board meeting next week.
okay, so,
Okay, thank you.
So what's point A6?
B6.
So
Get clarification at a later date?
we're going to,
Yep, we'll get clarification and bring it back to the board for next week.
so just to make sure that we got the process, let's see, we, try to remember this. Postpone, table, it's a proper term. Would like to entertain a motion to postpone item B6.
So
for the
moved.
next meeting. In a second?
Second.
Okay.
So next meeting,
Yes.
next week?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Just a small.
Okay. So we're going to postpone it. We have to take a roll call for that. So-
Just to
To
postpone.
postpone it.
A roll call?
Is that right?
It affects a motion, so we have to
Yep.
roll call.
Roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mrs. Legg?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. So the motion that's on the floor now is effectively to approve items B1 through B5 and B7 through B19. Any other discussion? Mrs. Haley?
Have a separation.
You can separate out.
Can we separate out B9, I'm sorry, B-9.3?
Okay. Any other separations that you want?
Yeah, just to be on the safe side.
We're still on Bs. It's okay.
Yeah.
B3.2, please.
B3.2.
And for B1, attachment B1.1, there's a typo, I'll just pass it down.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Just a letter missing, no big deal.
Grammatical. Typographical. Okay. Any other discussion? Comments?
Questions?
Yes, Mr. Gillette.
B19 is the motion to approve paid suspension. I was wondering if Mr. Kinst, I'm just throwing this at you, Mr. Kinst, can you just, do you want to say like a sentence or two about what it means when we approve a paid suspension?
Sure, that's just
I
to,
would appreciate if you did.
sure. So the ability to suspend with pay is endowed with the superintendent, and this is to affirm that decision. And for this one specifically, that suspension, that employee is currently being paid, and it's pending an investigation, and at that point, additional action would be taken by the superintendent.
So,
So this is to affirm the decision that the superintendent has made.
and by voting, we affirm that we've been notified and that it's for a valid reason.
Yep.
In other words, we would vote yes under almost any circumstances, unless the superintendent says, I just don't like that guy.
Unless we felt
He's
there was something
suspended."
egregious.
And that would not be a valid reason, that
Yep.
we'd vote no, but in almost all of the cases, we vote yes.
I
on
think
this.
we've learned what these
I just
are
wanted to get it
deal.
out there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gillette. Any other discussion for, okay. All right, taking out the exceptions. So now we're voting on items B1 through B3.1, B4, B5, B7 through B9.2, and B10 through B19. Did I get that? Roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mrs. Legg?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson?
Yes.
And Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve item B3.2 of
So
the
moved.
action agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mrs. Legg?
Abstain.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson?
Yes.
And Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve item B9.3 of the action agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Can't do both. I got the first.
I thought he got.
It was Lorraine and Dina. Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Ms. Bogushansky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
Abstain.
Mrs. Lay?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Stop calling me Shirley. All right, continuing on, please, with the action agenda.
Okay. I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions under the area of operations to approve the bylaws for second reading, including nepotism, the revisions to policies for second reading, including internal controls, school district travel, and purchase of food supplies, approve new policy for second reading, advertising on school property, approve the regulations required adoption by the Board of Education, including internal controls and school district travel, approve the interlocal transportation agreement with the Somerset County ESC, also approve a similar agreement with Middlesex Regional ESC, as well as Union County ESC. Award 2013 summer ESY transportation contracts is listed. Approve additional transportation contracts is listed. Accept the donation from 3M for a variety of school supplies, as well as a donation of $2,000 from Todd and Scott Van Cleef to be used for the purchase of a rock wall at Amsterdam School.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve items C1 through C10 of the action agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Yep. Any discussion? Mrs. Haas?
Yeah, I need to separate out C5 through C7.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I
Mr.
actually
Gillette.
have discussion.
Okay.
Surprising, isn't it? On one of the policies, now I'm trying to find which one it is now. Well, it's I can't find it. It's the Business Administrator Board Secretary job description. Oh, actually, this wasn't under operations, was it? It was on the last one. We missed it.
You already voted on it.
That's the one I just
I was, yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that. I'll go back later.
Under old
Yeah,
business?
yeah, yeah. I'll
Okay.
go back later.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to vote on approving items C1 through C4 and C8 through C10. Roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Mrs. Shirley, Ms. Bogushansky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lay?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes,
Motion passes.
motion passes. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve items C5 through C7 of the action agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all right. Any discussion? Okay. Roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Ms. Bogushansky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Abstain.
Okay. Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lay?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Moving on to old business. Mr. Gillette?
Yeah, I was reviewing all the policies together this afternoon, and when we got to the policies, so I apologize. But I did want to comment on something on the Business Administrator Board Secretary job, I guess the job, not job description, but job,
Duties.
whatever, obligations, policy. There's some items in there about their duties regarding elections. And I wondered if you, Mr. Mahmood knows, do you have the same duties now as regarding our election as you did? Because it doesn't really, do you have any duties, or maybe we should go back and revisit that policy?
Anytime there's a referendum or a special election, the board secretary still has responsibilities, as they did previously.
Okay, so the things in there that said that make sure that elections are advertised and the different things are still in there? Okay.
For the elections that are.
Yeah, I was just curious as if anything had changed. And that's one of those policies where it's sort of an operational thing, but it's a human resource thing, so the policy went to Human Resource Committee, and we never saw it, even though he's sort of our man on the spot, Mr. Mahmood. All right.
Speaking of which, for old business, now that we've changed the elections to November, petitions are available at the Somerset County Clerk's Office for nominations for school board for the November 5th election date. They are due notarized to the county clerk by June 4th. And then I think between June 4th and September 5th, somebody who applies, files a petition, has the opportunity to withdraw their petition if they can. It requires 10 signatures for registered voters within Hillsborough, and then there's a couple other requirements which are listed there, and also at the various websites. So,
I'm making a lot of enemies tonight, but I'm
Mr.
raising my
Gillette?
hand again. So we had one more email today about having to do with world language. That was today, right? Or maybe it was over the weekend. And I know we had a member of the public come up to speak about world language also, particularly in the 5th and 6th grade level. This is a question that I've had for a while, and I wonder if, now that we're getting closer to September, if Dr. Schiff knew where the time is going to come from for the kids to have this increased classes in world language in the 5th and 6th grade level. Is the time coming? I mean, they're going to have more time. It's not just going to be 1/5 of the year, I assume, right? I mean, more hours. Do you think overall they'll have more hours?
It's going to be slightly more, but remember, as part of the cycle, they took 2 different languages during their cycle period.
Right.
So yes, there will be somewhat more time. This was discussed at the Education Committee, that there would be a slight drop. I'm not exactly sure how many minutes.
A couple of minutes, but we're going to meet tomorrow. So.
Yeah. We're actually going to be finalizing staff, or at least the recommendations for staffing next year. We have completed the survey of students asking for first, second, third, or the first few choices, and we're going to be gathering that data and presenting it to education also to keep education in the loop on exactly what that is going to be. It is not a significant change from what was before, because they had 2 bites of the apple as part of the cycle program for
Right,
world
so
language offering, but it would be a single one for the rest of the time.
Okay.
and we look forward to seeing that breakdown
Yep.
for the Education Committee report out next week.
Mhm. We actually have a meeting tomorrow to generate all of the information for the Education Committee.
With the informational aspects which are on the agenda, so now I'd like to enter, anyway, any other old business? Mrs.
Just
Haley?
a reminder, our next meeting is next Monday.
Yes, reminder, meeting is not every other week, but except for this month, because the following is a holiday, so we will be meeting next week, same time, same channel.
Actually, since next week's meeting is a little different, maybe you want to explain to the public what we'll be doing next week?
Yes, very good, thank you. So now that we're moving to November, or historically when we had the elections in April, the first meeting after the elections was a reorganization meeting, which was a reorganization not only for the board members, but then also assignments of professional services and also within the administrative staff as well. So as has been suggested by New Jersey School Boards Association, we're having what's basically called a mini organization, which is for assigning those professional services that coincide with the school calendar. So that would start July 1st and June 30th. We feel it's appropriate to do that now, since there's a timeliness that's more favorable than to do it in January. And so that's what you'll see on the agenda next week is some aspects of a reorganization meeting with the specific aspects to professional services. Thank you, Mr. Pulsifer.
You're welcome.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, Mrs.
Oh, I just
Okay.
told her to make the motion.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So moved.
There you go.
The sign.
One mistake.
The sign. How about the sign?
I've been waiting for you to say, well, the sign's up.
The sign is.
I know, the sign is up, too.
Is it lit up?
I'm so excited.
Are they
Is it
waiting?
working?
Are they waiting for the final approval to light it up?
Working yet.
I'm assuming so.
It's probably too tall.
Making progress. Making progress.
So excited.
All right, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? We are adjourned. Thank you.